Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, it's kind of June update time. I know I was actually putting this off slightly for reasons I'll explain in a moment, because it brought to mind the line dialogue from one of the Star Wars films, The Phantom Menace. I think it was episode 1, where the Trade Federation, Newt Gunray, the Chancellor, the Viceroy, I should say, of the Trade Federation, says, the other one says, should we tell Lord Sidious about this, about they've lost the Jedi, you know? And he says, no need to report anything until there is something to report. And those words came to mind for me here, because I'm not sure I need to report anything to you, because there's not much to report. So, Mosquito progress, yes, well, I have done a tiny bit of work, but it's almost nothing. The main reason, two reasons actually. The first reason is genuine time constraints. During the last month since my last update, I've done a lot more work, so I haven't had as much free time. And also I've been on holiday. I was in the Lake District, as some of you saw my little sort of montage video stroke photographs, including the F-15 fighter jets coming over and all that stuff. So I just haven't had time at the bench, and I've been busy with lots of other things, much more than normal. So I hope that we can get back to making a bit more progress. I have been working actually on the seat belts. I'll actually zoom you in for this. I can gently hold this. So I've been working on the seat belts. These are the Edward photo etch, HGW seat belt set that comes with Edward photo etch within it. It's quite fiddly though. Anybody that's thinking about buying these extras, the more I experience them, the more I'm going off them. Nothing to do with Edward. I'm not having a pop at Edward here. It's just aftermarket, and sometimes you create more problems than you solve. You create extra detail, but you create a lot of work for yourself. Let me show you this. So I'm just working on this is the pilot's part of the seatbelt, and you've got two elements to it here. Where sorry, it's not the ultra clearest. So we can get you a bit closer. There we go. You've got this the metal studs are like a liner piece on the back. You have to super glue them in. If I can just get you to show you that in the back. That's very fiddly. You've got the little belt buckle at the top. That's very fiddly. You've got a second. Let's get that behind. You've actually got two seat belts here. The front and rear of it are actually glued together as well. It's mighty fine. It's mighty fiddly. And this is the second reason I think I've perhaps not been as productive as I might have been with this model. And I want to stress at the very beginning, this is nothing to do with the Tamiya kit. I've got no problems with it. It is not Mojo killer or anything like that. It's fantastic. It's a brilliant kit. I tell you that for nothing. It's one of the best ones I've ever touched. And I'm only just touching the beginning of it really. No, but it's this problem I've alluded to it before about being presented with almost too many choices. And I think a lot of people get into this rut, which I seem to have hit a little bit as well, whereby you look at these. I'm saying about the fiddliness. Let me just zoom you back in. Look at this. So here, this is all the little belts and the buckles that go with these seat belts. Get that to zoom, get the focus. There we go. Now you can see from my fingers just how absolutely minute these things really are. Oh, they are small. Okay. And it's fiddly work, and it's time consuming. And then you've got this bigger problem of, just showing the instructions here, you can see how fiddly it is just by a glance at these instructions that I'm working on at the moment. This is the section we're on. And the problem is you are constantly having this almost a clash of, I was going to say a cultural clash, that would be the wrong phrase, or maybe a clash of ideas about just how much aftermarket do we use. I am very obsessed by details, and I want it to look just right at the end. But I'm almost too obsessed. It's working against me at the moment with all this, because I can't make my mind up. I'm very indecisive about which to go with, where, For example, here we've got the G navigation screen. I'll show you this. It's absolutely tiny, so I'm going to have to get this fairly close to the camera, I think. You can see I've already started removing parts so that I can actually put the very nice Edward sort of instrumentation photo etch set in there. Let's see if we get that. That's about as close as we can get, I think, to focus. And you can see I've started to actually remove the bottom right now. I've actually started scraping off some of the parts. Because the Edward set has got a lot of pre-painted detail, etc. But somebody else, several of you have made comment after my last talk about this last month in April, May, sorry, start of May, when I was saying, I can't decide whether to go with the Edward photo etch or just dry brush. And I'm kind of wishing on that part as well. I'm kind of wishing I hadn't touched it now in a way. I'm kind of wishing, I mean, I can repair that and make it kind of as it was quite easily, I think. But it's just adding time. It slows you down right at the start of the build. It's a very slow uphill battle to make things fit, and then the real issue isn't so much making them fit for me. It's whether they actually do look better at the end. And as one or two of you observed last month, I think like me, several of you looked at the images and said, well, not sure that they do look better actually, if I'm really honest. You know, I mean, we talked about it. Here is the instrumentation and the various sets. And if you look at that, I'll zoom you in one more time for this, you can see that the G is just near my thumb there. The G radar navigation set. It does look great, but given that Tamiya give you quite an impressive, sorry, try and get it without the reflections. Given that Tamiya give you quite an impressive decal set to go with it anyway, I think with dry brushing and a bit of accurate painting of the actual kit parts, it will look just as good, and it doesn't have that flatness. The trouble is with these Edward parts, a lot of you I know use these 3D sets from people like Yahoo and is it Red Fox, Red Dog, I can't remember, and others. Some are in countries that I don't personally want to be dealing with. But some of these 3D relief sets I think are better than the Edward. I sound like I'm knocking Edward. I'm not, honestly. I'm not trying to knock them today. I've done that already in the past. No, it's not that. It's just the fact that I think perhaps they need to move on with their offering. I think they need to go the 3D route, because doing it very flat, I mean, on the radio set that's not so bad. The actual radio is, because that is fairly flat, the frontage of it, apart from a couple of knobs. But a lot of these others have got a lot of knobs and switches and dials and relief, and it looks from a distance, yes, very nice, but as a modeller, I'm starting to feel that it's no longer good enough. Sounds a bit arrogant, or a bit like, you know, it's trends. It's not that. I just think that they look a bit flat, you know, they look a bit characterless, really. So maybe some of you have tried other options and you can recommend them, but I know somebody recommended, I don't know, Yahoo or Quinta or somebody, but say some of those companies, one the latter, I don't think I want to deal with them. But I just think that we are. The trouble with modelling is everybody's got a different idea, which is absolutely fine, and everybody make your own model the way you want to make it. But I think that's the problem, because a lot of us don't do that, and me included. I think we feel influenced by trends and fashions too much, and feel obliged, you know, that we ought to be doing this or we ought to be doing that. It's not really fair to yourself. I'm certainly going down a rabbit hole with this, and it's not helping me. If I'd not got, I tell you now, if I'd not got any of this aftermarket at all, this cockpit would probably already built by now. I'd probably got the cockpit done. And it's just prevarication and indecision that I can't make my mind up which way to go. And I keep looking at the parts and thinking, well, shall I build them all up and then decide at the... Well, this is adding a lot of time to your build. You don't need it, to be honest. And especially on something as good as this. Yes, maybe Tamiya's decals are a little bit lacking. That's one area where we can certainly improve them. Or improve on, I should say. So, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But on the subject of that, it just reminded me of something else I do want to talk about in a second. I think I'm getting bogged down, I'm getting stuck down the rabbit hole with all this, and I'm going to have to... It's hard to try to decide how to break out of this indecisive way of thinking. Now, I've got to say, it's not really Edward this time, it's HGW, who's their sort of sister company down the road in the Czech Republic. They're a bit strange though. These seat belts as a material are very nice, but they're a peel off. They have like a peel off backing. There's nothing in the instructions to tell you this. This is Edward, and it's under an Edward instruction leaflet, I've got to say. And there's nothing to tell you that you're supposed to peel off the backing. Not that I can see. Not a sausage. There is nothing there that shows the backing being peeled off or indicates it. And I nearly didn't do this because I haven't used HGW before. And I have to say I was a bit frustrated by that. And when I find somebody actually pointed it out, one of you, and said, "Oh yeah, Pete, you peel it off." That's a good job, thank you. I think two of you said that. Thank you to both of you, because I didn't know that, and there's nothing to tell me that in there. It's silly. So, you know, someone less, I mean, I'm experienced enough, I should have probably twigged. Especially me, having worked in the self-adhesive industry, because it did look like, you know, that printed checkered backing paper that it had on the back. But it just didn't, there's nothing to indicate that it was like that. Anyway, we've got past that now, so we know how to move forward. But it's a very fiddly, messy, and it's like one friend said to me recently, "Why are you doing all this? Just put the pilots in." Now, talking of the pilots, you remember last month I showed you these, and I put some photographs on my page on YouTube as well, on my sort of community page. Here we got this is the Navigator, in fact, it's Alan Broadley, isn't it? Now, one thing that has been progressed, this is going to make you chuckle, a bit of a faux pas, you could say. I actually painted these guys up. Here's Alan Broadley again. This time he's actually in the position where he's me back slightly. I think too much zoom there. Where he's climbing the ladder. Now, I painted these guys in the Royal Air Force sort of blue. Is it XF50? I think it is. Field blue. I think that's something else. Anyway, it was the right colour. Trust me. My memory's just failing me. But I painted them all up, and it was very. Now here's the thing. Here's the faux pas I made. I didn't primer them, which is a bit stupid, trying to take a shortcut. And they didn't look good, and it was wearing off, and it didn't look a good finish anyway. It was too flat, it was too matte. So, you're probably thinking, well, hang on a minute, there's no sign of any blue on here now, because I've removed the blue. I got IPA on it with a cotton bud, or a Q-tip, as you folks in the States would say. And I removed it all. Now, the good thing about that, actually, there is a positive to this, because I made a bit of a mess of it, and you can't really tell now, it's kind of all gone. Or has it? Here's the thing that's actually a positive from this error. If you do that, and you just gently remove it, you do actually leave a very fine coating of paint stroke IPA. But you have got like a key coat on the surface, and I can tell because the plastic's not as shiny. So in actual fact, although I made a bit of a botch of it, you might say, I mean obviously it's work in progress, there's a lot more work to go on these guys. But I think I've actually prepared the surface quite well, so that's actually a tip I'd give you. Don't be too worried if you spray them up and it looks a bit of a mess, you're not happy with it. Because I can tell straight away that surface now is far more ready for painting than it was before. And so I've almost used the paint as a primer by default, if you like. So that was a happy little accident, you might call it. Beyond that, all I've done is started working on the G radio set and things like that. So I've got the little boxes, and obviously I've got to decide how I'm going to go about it. But I think we're going to make progress now. I think if I can just knuckle down and get a few days. I mean, it's mojo, partly mojo, and partly this rabbit hole problem of making decisions that I'm having. And I'm sure many of you will face this. You realise you've got to modify the kit in some cases. Not so much here, but some cases you've got to make quite a lot of modifications in the kit to make things go in that are aftermarket. And then it starts to become really hard work. And, I kind of made the mistake that Phil Flory made, although he would probably admit that he made a bigger error than me with his. Beautiful job he made of it. I'm not knocking his work, by the way. But he did the same thing, didn't he? A few years back when he made his Mosquito. But he went down the route, buying everything. He bought engines and big chunks of the interior and the gun belts and the gun bays and just about everything. And he admitted that this made it really hard going. And actually, it's such a good kit. This is the point I'm coming to, really. It's such a good kit. If you've got ropey kits, they probably are the ones that benefit far more from aftermarket parts like we have here. In fairness, you can argue about which is ultimately the best, of course, in terms of absolute finish and what they look like. But you can create, as Phil did, and he admitted this and talked about it many times, you can add so much that you just go down this route of feeling obliged again to add stuff that just isn't needed. Now I've got the gun chutes, the ammo feed chutes for this kit, which is the Barracuda set, I think it is. I've also got the gun barrels. Well, the gun barrels are a no-brainer because they are clearly superior, especially at 132 scale. The gun feed chutes, I'm not so sure. Having now looked at the kit parts, it's a bit like Phil Flory's dilemma that he had. I'm not now so sure that I'm actually going to use them because I don't want to get myself in the same situation I'm in already, where I'm thinking, well, did I need to do this? Because it seems pretty good. And I think we're trying to gild the lily, doing something completely unnecessary, really. And it's just creating lots and lots of work and giving me headaches. And it's affecting the motivation. And I'm not making the progress. Excuse me. Not making the progress that I would have otherwise made. So, it's a food for thought. Now, a couple of things to show you today. I don't think I showed you, I can't remember now. I don't think I showed you this, but this has come in the last few weeks because I had such a bad experience with the decals. I moaned about the Tamiya decals on this particular kit. They're very thick and they have, it's not the thickness, but it's quite a nasty halo of carrier film, which I didn't like. So, one of you, again, one of the subscribers and viewers actually mentioned that there's this one-man army set you can buy. One-man army, yeah? And which seems to have one-man army seems to have the logo from the Messerschmitt ME163 Comet. That's where that's from, I can tell you, because I recognise it straight away. That's often on the nose of the Comets. The rocket fighter, yeah. Anyway, these guys have got this really nice stencil set, which is basically to paint on all the stencils that you need for your Mosquito, and it's got basically the various stencils. It's got the RAF squadron marking, reflection there. RAF squadron markings. We've got our roundels, etc., and propeller numbers, bomb stencils, and it's all in here. I haven't opened this yet, so I'm going to open this on camera for you so you can have a nosy. Now, I've not used excuse me, I haven't actually used stencils to replace decals before. I don't think I have. I made my own ones, but I don't think I've actually bought any in that I can remember anyway. I may have done. I've got a feeling in the back of my mind I have done, but I just can't quite place my head on it. Let's have a look at this, see what we think, zoom in a bit more. I think this is, on a big kit like this, a big expensive kit, it's a major build. I think it warrants it, it really does warrant it. So, I have to say that already I'm liking the look of this because it's got, there's the stencils themselves. Oh right, okay. So we've got a really, we've got some excellent instructions, unlike when I was complaining about with those seat belts just a few minutes ago. Look at this. How about that? Completely, this leaves you in no doubt about anything. Shows the exact positioning of all the stencils, where they go. This is an absolute nightmare as a decal. This, if any of you that's done any Mosquito in any scale will know, this is a real trap to fall into, and I've fallen into it myself with the 148th Tamiya kit. And over here we've got all the little stencils being shown, and it leaves you, there's a lot of them actually, I'm surprised how many there are, but it leaves you in no doubt at all. So I think this is something you're going to need to take your time over, but I think the end results will be absolutely knockout. And over here we have showing exactly how you go about it, user manual, how the masks work, how you should, the process you go through in actually creating the effect, how to build them up. That's really good instructions on that. That was, yeah, I can see why this chap recommended these. And again, on the smaller ones, how to use it. So I think you just need to take your time and read these instructions really well. And I think that these will give you a really excellent performance and a really nice final look to your markings. I think they cost me, I think it was £20 at the top of my head, I'm trying to remember, £23, something like that. Maybe £23 including postage. Here are the actual stencils themselves. So you've got your roundels for the wings, and then you've got your code letters here, and then all those, the radiator, do not walk on the top of the radiator, the one that's a real minefield job. Even looks like a warning for a minefield, doesn't it? As a design. And you've got your side roundels here, and your small registration numbers. Everything there, and then there's a second sheet which has got some of the smaller ones, I think, that go on the tail, and vertical and horizontal stabilisers. What a nice set though. I've got to say I'm quite looking forward to using these, because I just think I'm going to have a really good experience. It's interesting when you see that image, actually, it just shows you how small some of them are. Just where my finger is there. Look at this. So they're not big, some of them. So I think you've just got to be careful, and obviously it'd be essential to, I think, make sure that we've got a good surface to put the masking on in terms of the paint surface. Might even give it a coat of satin before I do any of this. I think it might be sensible, because there's going to be some fairly sticky masking going on there. We don't want to pull off any of the paint. So that's One Man Army, and they do not just Mosquito, they do all sorts of stuff. You can buy it from Hannants, so I would urge you to go and look on the Hannants website if you're interested in this. So thank you for the recommendation. I think that was a very helpful one indeed. It says I'm trying to get it back into the bag, it doesn't want to go in. This is what always happens with these, isn't it? I seem to spend most of my life on YouTube on camera putting things back in bags that are very reluctant to do so. It'll be worth it. It simply has to go in. It must go back in, and there we go. I think we're in now. Famous last words. It's the adhesive that's just sticking back onto the sheet. Okay, I think we're alright now. Take your time. Talk amongst yourselves. Right, sorry about that. Okay, so there you go. One Man Army, available from Hannants. Excellent. Now the second thing I wanted to show you this month as an update, I did promise to talk about this at the time around Christmas time when we had the Zokimura 132nd scale FW190A4, and here finally we have got the Zokimura, the aftermarket gun barrels that we've been waiting for. Now check these out. Aren't they spiffing? Now they are of course made for them by Master Model in Poland, in fact. So I'm going to take these out and have a little look at them. So let's have a nosy at these, because I haven't literally opened this box. First time I opened the box, I'm taking it out, been saving it just for you guys. So we've got our instructions, that's what they are. Oh yeah, oh yes. Now, this is the thing I like about buying it from the Zokimura product range, rather than just going on your own and buying it from Master Model. Because Zokimura, being the way they are, they go to a lot of lengths to actually give you instructions of exactly how to put them in, which is much better than what Master Model normally do. So have a look at this. It actually shows you which stage it should be at and where they go exactly, and how to actually make them fit in. Oops, get my zoom to work. Here we go. So here we go. So it looks like it's stage 33. So it's 33, and it shows the guns going in here, how they go in, how they interact with the existing part. It's plastic. Can you see that? I mean, this is quite mouth-watering. I like the way they've gone about this, and I'm glad that this is the way we bought them. And then we've got the pitot probe on the front of the wing as well. We've also got the, I think it's the one of the aerials. It is an aerial, isn't it? It's not a, yeah, it's an aerial. It's probably a high frequency antenna. And showing again, like Zukimura always do, showing you the exact position of it. There's more to this than I realised in terms of instructions. That's really good. There's nothing on the back, it's just this side. And then finally showing you how the MG17 machine gun goes in. So the first one's at the top of the cannons. The MG151 cannons. There. Going in and how they fit in with the wing spar. And then down here, these are the machine guns that are on top of the nose, aren't they? I think. Right in saying that? Yeah, pretty sure they are. MG17s. So there you go, and it shows how they should be fitted in and how they'll look in relation to the plastic. Now, that's very nice. So let's have a look at the actual product. So of course, as I said, it's master model. It's even got their logo on it, as you can see. And then so we've got our pitot. So we've got our pitot here, and I don't think I'll take them out of the bag at this point, but I think I'll get you close enough. We won't need to really. Look at those gun barrels, though, aren't they nice? So that's the machine guns at the bottom. They're in the nose. That's the cannons. And these are the barrels, the exit barrels of the cannons that come out here in the middle, where my thumb is. Those are the exit barrels of the cannons. You see how they are, the usual hollowed out muzzle, proper job, you know. Those are beautiful. They really are nice. Let's be honest, so we get some focus. Yeah. The back of them slightly strange way. They're all sort of shrink heat sealed between each division is the portioned off into quite a good idea. Keep them separate rather than just have one bag with them all bouncing around. And there, of course, that small one. Oops, this small one here. That's the HF, I think it is, or the HF aerial that sticks out of the bottom. I just know somebody's going to pop up and say that's a vent pipe, because it actually could be a vent pipe, but I think it's an aerial. But they're really nice, and these retail around about £22, £23 from memory, because it's a few weeks ago that I bought these. Very pleased with those, and those gun barrels do look absolutely exceptionally good, I've got to say. They're going to be really nice. You see that the end of the barrel, that muzzle, really is the business. So that's our FW190 gun barrels, which I think, I mean, the ones in the kit are actually pretty good, I've got to say. They were above average, I'd say, but nothing quite beats master model, do they, really, in fairness. I think that nobody would really argue with that. So, that goes back in there, folds in like so. Barrels go in like that. This one is much easier to deal with than the other packaging. So that's where we're at. So that's kit I do intend to build, because I think it'll go with this Mosquito. It's probably going to be next year. And in terms of the Mosquito, it's if I zoom you back a bit, it says, I think we are zoomed back. If you look on the board in front of me, you can just about make out that the Mosquito colour plan. Excuse me. And there's various parts of Mosquito all over the place. So I've got various sprues are up there as well. I think I may have shown you these last month. In fact, where I had, where I've got several of the sprues where we've disgustingly, as some people would claim, painted them on the sprue already. But they will be touched up. I don't just paint on the sprue and then leave the little nubs where I cut them off unpainted. They get touched up, so you'll never know. You'll never know. So there we go, a bit of painting on the sprue. So as you can see, I didn't make much progress, if I'm really honest about it. It's not been a great month for progress, but I intend to. We're having, also, the other thing I mentioned about reasons and excuses why I haven't been making any progress was the weather, really, because we've had, it's now June, it's summer, although we're having this incredibly cold and windy summer here at the moment in the UK. We've had a lot of wind and it's not been warm. We've had central heating on, you know. It's very rare for us to have the central heating on in June. I can't remember the last time we had that, maybe 10 years ago we had another cold summer, but it's pretty unusual and it's not doesn't feel like summer. We get sunshine but we don't get a lot of warmth coming through, so it's very strange. And you know, we're only, what are we now, 10 days away from the longest day, so the summer solstice, the true midsummer effectively is going to be over soon. So let's hope things improve. I mean, I'm not one that likes hot weather. You know, I mean, by the way, recently many of you will have noticed that we had this rather tragic news in the UK. Dr. Michael Mosley, a famous TV doctor, has passed away after being on a holiday with his family in Simi in Greek island. They're having horrendously hot temperatures. Not somewhere I would ever go. I love places like that, but not at that time of year. I never go anywhere hot, apart from maybe September to March. I've been to places like Portugal in September, really enjoyed it, and Spain and Italy and places. But I'd never go in midsummer, June, July, August. No, I wouldn't. I'm not saying that's got any connection, particularly what happened to this poor gentleman. He was a very famous and well-respected doctor, by the way, and got lots of TV programmes about health and diet and all that kind of thing. He's a very well liked chap, so I'm very sorry to see that this tragedy happened. But he went out walking on a day that was really hot. I mean, what was it, 45 degrees or something? And you know, I think, was it 2 years ago, we had quite a hot summer here in the UK, and I did a couple of YouTube videos dressed as I am, and people would say, what? And I had several fans on just off screen. Because it was so hot, I can't cope with hot temperatures, and it's not good for me. So I don't want to see that weather here. But it would be nice to have, if it just felt like a nice spring day, it would be good, you know, quite pleasant. But yeah, I think those sort of temperatures, yeah, they can be too much for people, and I couldn't handle it. And I certainly couldn't have gone walking this time of the year anywhere like that. It's somewhere I'd never go. I'd always seek the cooler months, cooler seasons, you know. Anyway, rest in peace, Dr. Mosley, because he was a nice guy, and I think everybody is quite shocked what happened to him. Tragic. But anyway, there we go. So there's been. It's summertime. It's perhaps hard to get the mojo going for the modelling. I'm sure I'm not alone in this. I think that when it is warm, in here it does get a bit too warm for modelling. Well, I haven't got that excuse now. So that's not really very valid, I suppose. But we'll try and crack on anyway and see if we can make some progress. As I've just got to break out. It's a bit like the Normandy campaign. We're talking about D-Day. It's the 80th anniversary recently, of course. And I'm a bit like the D-Day, the Allied forces. I'm in Normandy. I've started, but I'm sort of stuck, and I need to break out. I need Operation Cobra. That's what I need. The breakout operation to try and push out and get me into good tank country where I can make rapid progress. I'm sure a lot of you actually joking about D-Day, but it was it's quite moving to watch some of the these veterans, you know, from many countries that came across and went to Normandy. Don't know if how many of you have been to Normandy. Many of you will have been. For those of you that haven't, I would strongly recommend it. I've been twice. I did two similar holidays, one in 2006 and one in 2008. And on both occasions, I took my wife. She wasn't my wife at the time, but she is now, of course. And we both went the second time. And every time I go, I see new stuff that I haven't seen before. And I want to go again. So I've seen most of the D-Day beaches, but I haven't seen the German cemetery, because I'd like to see that and have a look at Wittmann's grave and one or two other things there that are of interest. I'd also like to see Villers Bocage. I've not been there. I haven't been to the sort of Falaise Gap sort of area where the Falaise pocket was. which is quite harrowing, but I quite like to see that out of interest. But I've been to Utah Beach, and these places have all got museums, and they're all worth visiting. They really are. If you're in any doubt about it, you should go. You should go if you're interested in the subject. It will amaze you, the scale of it, the depth of it, just how much stuff is still left there is quite incredible. And I was watching James Holland did this documentary 5 years ago with a chap called Mike Wilson, American chap. American or Canadian, forgive me. And they went and toured all these sites, and it was a really interesting program. They actually make full programs, and it's on YouTube now. You can watch it as one program, 2 hours and 20 minutes. And it's well worth watching because he sort of chronologically goes around and discusses how the battle unfolded. And he was defending Montgomery and saying that Montgomery's problem really was personality. He was very spiky, and he got under people's skin and annoyed them and rubbed them up the wrong way and all this kind of thing. Him and Patton were both like that, actually. But Montgomery sometimes took the blame for Dempsey's mistakes and his own, and he also he would sometimes overstate or let expectations run beyond what was actually possible, what he knew was possible. Operation Goodwood, for example. Don't want to get into all that now, but very interesting because they were basically saying that actually it wasn't really his idea. He approved it. The problem was if he didn't have very ambitious plans, he'd never have got the air support that he needed, especially on things like Goodwood. And something I learned new there, actually. That was quite interesting to watch. I think James Holland does make a bit of a career out. He's a great historian, don't get me wrong, but he does make a bit of a career out of challenging the established, understood facts, perhaps sometimes a little bit too much. He likes to reinvent the narrative a little bit more than perhaps he's done it with the Battle of Britain and lots of other things. But it's always based on fact, and it's always, it always gives you a different perspective. And I think historians do have a habit of copying each other a little bit in terms of the narrative. So it's actually interesting to hear a different perspective. And we all know that in Saving Private Ryan, the movie, that Montgomery was disparaged, and I think that was very unfair, actually. I think it was unwise. Steven Spielberg, I've got tremendous respect and love for his work, but this was the one time I was very disappointed in him. The film itself is brilliant, but that one moment where Ted Danson makes this comment about Montgomery, it's in poor taste, really, and it's in poor taste for the British and the Canadian veterans that were, and the Polish, who were operating under Montgomery. I think it was a little bit of a cheap shot, to be honest. And James Holland challenges that with a lot of detail. Goes into a lot of detail. It's a very interesting programme. So maybe I'll leave you a link just below today's update, because I think you'll enjoy that. A lot of you would enjoy watching that programme, I'm sure. And you learn a lot about it. He does avoid a few things, though. He never talks about Villers-Bocage, which I thought was strange. Villers-Bocage wasn't actually the biggest pivotal battle in the scheme of things. I mean, it was a day when the British had a really bad day. Some mistakes were made, for sure, and Michael Wittmann took maximum advantage. But ultimately, Michael Wittmann's tank was knocked out there, and he had to run off and get another one. And ultimately, the British did actually win through in the end there. So, yeah, it's often he often challenges this thing about the battles like that, where there is this perception of German superiority, and in some respects they were superior, but not as much as people like to portray, I don't think. And at Villers-Bocage, after the initial surprise and the initial disaster set in, the British responded fairly strongly and shut the Germans back out again. But anyway, he does discuss the Caen thing, and one of the things that I really noticed on that programme, which you might watch, is there's a D-Day Normandy Museum at Caen, which is there's two actually. There's one at quite close to the American Cemetery at Corville-sur-Mer, which I've not seen before. I think it's fairly new, relatively new in the last 10 years. And there's this other one at Caen where they've got a mint-looking Hawker Typhoon suspended from the ceiling, which looks really good. So that's worth seeing. Anyway, as I say, I'll put a link in. But yeah, it's all very moving stuff, and I wish I could have gone again this year, but I always avoid going at D-Day itself, because all the veterans go and you don't want to get in their way. These guys deserve to go, and especially when it's a big anniversary, they deserve an unhindered, clear field to go back and revisit what they experienced, and I don't think we should get in their way really and hinder them in any way. So I've often gone like either late June or May. So I think maybe May next year. I might even think about going back, because there's still all these sites I want to see. I mentioned the German cemetery, and there's these two museums I've just mentioned, Villers Bocage, and places like Mont Omel, where the end of the battle on the 20th of August, where the Poles and the Canadians and the Brits finally closed the Falaise pocket, although quite a few Germans did escape during the night, but it was a slaughter. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. I think it'll be interesting to actually revisit those sites. The famous stream at Moissy, where it was absolute carnage, and the Germans escaped, tried to escape across this stream and into the fields, trying to get past Lambert-sur-Dive. Absolutely incredible. I've never been there, and I know a lot about it. I've done a lot of studying, and I've never been there, and I need to go. And see it actually with my own eyes. So there's a few ideas for you anyway. Anybody who's interested in D-Day and interested in the subject, do not hesitate. Just go out of season, and you'll get more benefit from it. I think if you go sort of April, May, you probably get more benefit than going in June when it's really crowded. Anyway, there we go. So, hopefully I'm going to get some more progress. I've said that before. May is one of the worst months for me. It's my wedding anniversary, and we always go away. So that's why it's never a very productive month, in truth. And I'm probably working extra before and afterwards to compensate. So that's why that happened. Hoping to get back into it. I'm going to really knuckle down and get this Mosquito underway, because the mojo has been affected by this indecision and can't quite make my mind up and feeling which is the best. It's like, why am I bothering? Why don't I just put the pilots and sit them in there, at least one of them, probably the pilot himself. Maybe I should just have Percy Pickard sitting there, Alan Broadley climbing the ladder. I think that would look quite good, actually. So, I don't know. I could have Broadley sitting down looking at his map. I'm not sure I will though, because that's a tricky one actually to make it work, because he's got this downward looking pose, and if you don't ace it with your painting, that might not come out so well. So I think climbing the ladder animates the scene so well, I'm probably going to go with that. So actually, this messing about I've shown you with the seat belts isn't really needed at all. I might as well just skip over to just do Alan Broadley's seat, because of course Percy Pickard is sitting here and he's got the belts around him, so there's no need to worry about all that. And again, I'm sort of revisiting what I said earlier, but think of it like this: we've been programmed by many of these manufacturers that we need to do the seat belts, and we've got to get extra aftermarket. But you don't with this kit, because they provide the figures. So you don't need to at all. So don't. Anybody who's looking at this and has got this kit in the stash, or is thinking of this Mosquito, the FP6, the 1/32 scale kit, do not be concerned. Do not be put off by me getting bogged down. It's just me, really. I've just gone and got too much aftermarket a little bit, and it's not necessarily helping me. Frankly, it wasn't strictly necessary at all, and you can build a beautiful kit right out the box. Trust me, you can. You've also got all the standard photo etch, which I'm just reaching over for. The standard photo etch that comes from Tamiya here. So again, those of you that are thinking, oh, he's making heavy weather of this, it's going to be a nightmare. No, it's not going to be a nightmare really at all. I'm making heavy weather of this. It's entirely my fault. I think we all do this from time to time though. We're perhaps trying to gild the lily or over egg the pudding, as they say. So here you've got seatbelts already provided in the kit. So kind of begs the question why I went and got them. I think the HGW are fabric, so they do look a bit more realistic. I think that was the driver for me in getting the HGW ones. They have got that realism, especially at the scale. Perhaps you notice it a bit more. But strictly speaking, I say, if you're going to put the figures in the seats, then none of this is important at all. So, if you've got the kit, just enjoy it. Don't be put off. Don't worry. It's not a problem kit. It's not another Kinetic Sea Harrier or anything like that. This is going to be absolutely fine. I just need to make bold decisions and just crack on with it. Really, I think I'm going to withdraw. I think I'm only going to use about a third of this photo etch. I'm going to use some of it, but I'm going to use about a third of it. And there's parts that they're so fiddly and require so much fettling around with these tiny little levers and things that can't really be seen, genuinely can't be seen, and require so much fiddling and angst and frustration and dropping some of those tiny minute parts. The kit parts are more than adequate. They are. For what you will see through the glass, even up close, they're not needed. They're not needed. I'm trying to be a perfectionist, and I'm trying to take it so far, and a lot of us do it, it's not just me, I'm trying to take it so far that it's counterproductive. And it's taken away from the experience. So I'm going to stop doing that, not just with this kit either. I mean, I've just said about the aftermarket gun barrels on the FW190 from Zukimura. It needs nothing else. It needs nothing else whatsoever. So that'll be just, that's it. No more aftermarket on that one. I'm going to buy less and less aftermarket as time goes on. I mean, there's a lot of companies now setting up that do 3D printed weapons, bombs, missiles. Some of those are really exceptional. Yes, yeah, but don't. You've got, I and many of us, we collectively, I think we've got to stop assuming that we must have them. And we should get the kit first, and look and make that decision. It's your decision at the end of the day. Everybody's entitled to do whatever they want and build the kit how they like. But don't assume you need this stuff, because you often don't. It's wasted money. For me, the money's less important than the time and the frustration and the difficulty and the deflection and the enjoyment is being dented by it. And I think I'm going to step back from that. I'm going to get back to building kits quicker. Not a race. I'm not in any hurry with this one. And I just summarised, by the way, by saying I promised that I would have this finished by the end of September. I think it's going to be more like Christmas. And it will be. Whenever I've had a big project on, I always say it'll be finished by Christmas. And I've never actually failed yet on any of them. I've always got it done for Christmas Eve. Once, what was the kit? Was it the Spitfire? Was it the Spit? No, the Spitfire was done at 10 o'clock in the morning on Christmas Eve. I think it was the Foxbat. I think I finished that something like 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve. No, that was New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Eve, sorry. So what was the one? I can't remember now. One of them, maybe it was the Mustang. I think it was 10 p.m. on Christmas Eve I finished it. That is when I draw the line and I have a firm line in the sand and I say to myself, you will not fail. Don't fail me again, Admiral, as Lord Vader famously said. That's when we're not allowed to fail. We have an absolute hard final finishing date. So that the worst case scenario, this will be finished on Christmas Eve, but I'm going to try and do it before that. I'm not going to let myself relax and let it slide back. It's really important that many of you always amaze me actually, because many of you have many different builds on the go at the same time, and I find this very hard to understand. Not the reasoning or not the fact that you start them, but I don't know how you keep the motivation going to keep going with all of them. Somebody said they've got seven or eight recently, and I thought, God, I couldn't do that. I couldn't be focused on. I just couldn't focus on it. Now historically I literally do one at a time, and I never start two. I think if you're having a struggle or you're not enjoying it, then actually it's probably a good thing to start another, because it can bring the mojo back. I should probably have done that with the Sea Harrier or the Porsche, the 917, the Le Mans car. I'm not going to have any of that problem with this. The only problem I've got at the moment is this, as I mentioned, it's like the Normandy campaign. I've got to break out of the hedgerows and get into the sunlit uplands of modelling joy. And I will get there. Once this cockpit is out of the way or well progressed beyond, the other aftermarket parts I don't think are going to bog me down in the same way, because there's not as many of them, and they're not going to be... It's going to be an easier choice, I think, to yes or no, go ahead with them. So that's the plan. Going to push on. When will I actually finish it? I've said obviously by Christmas Eve. I think realistically it might be mid-late October. because I'd like to get onto maybe the Tomcat actually. I'm probably thinking about doing the Tomcat after this, and then probably the Zokimura FW190 probably at New Year. So I don't really want to be still doing this in December, if I'm honest. So I shall push on and try and get moving with it. If you're in the same situation and you've got kits that you're really struggling to get that motivation, just take a step back sometimes and go on holiday. I feel it sort of becomes a psychological stress. It's all about mental health now. Oh, here we go. But it does become a psychological... if I go out to the gym, or I go out cycling, or I go out, in the garden with my wife, and I'm thinking, I should really be doing that Mosquito. But you can't let it dominate your life. It's supposed to be a fun hobby. It's supposed to be pleasurable. And with this one, because I know it's not a horrible challenge and an evil kit, it's a really good one. And it's going to be really enjoyable. I guess I'm being a bit more laid back actually, and I'm not feeling as compelled to rush at it to sort of overcome and beat it into the ground, because I don't have to. There's no war to fight here. It's just these early challenges, because I've sort of made myself have too many choices. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a firm decision on those in the next day or two and decide which pilot or co-pilot. I think it's going to be the pilot in the pilot's seat, and I think Broadley's going to be on the ladder, and therefore all I need to worry about is Broadley's seatbelt and stop piddling around with it really, and just get on with it. Sometimes though you just need to say, take a step back, have a breather, have a holiday or whatever, get yourself some nice new products, that are going to add to it though. I mean, that's good. That's not going to cause any complication at all relative to fiddling around and having a rather disappointing looking decal at the end. Those decals I don't think are good enough, and so I've got a little bit of learning to do in the way that I use these stencils, and I'll have to maybe do a bit of reading there, maybe have a look at them being used on YouTube even. But I think ultimately that'll be quite a pleasant and positive experience. Well, I hope so anyway. Anyway, I've gone on far too long as usual. I thought it was going to take 10 or 15 minutes, and it hasn't. Well, thank you for watching. I hope that your modelling's going more productively than mine is. But I'll be back, like Arnie, and we shall get moving and get this mozzie underway. By the way, for my motivation, I listened to Mosquito by Roland White, the book, audio book. I thought I'd just give you a comment on that, comment or two, because it's the third book of his I've read or listened to. And I really enjoyed it. It was really all about the Danish underground, the Danish resistance, actually. And any of you from Denmark should definitely get this book. It's really, there's more Denmark and the underground than there is mosquitoes in it, I can tell you. Which was kind of disappointing for me. Not it was great to learn about all this very heroic deeds that went on in Denmark in particular. I've spent quite a bit of time in Denmark on business, so I do know the country. Not as well as I'd like to, but well enough. But it was a little bit strange because it sort of went into huge detail really about how their resistance operation was managed by SOE in London, and I learned a great deal, there's no doubt about it. But there just wasn't enough Mosquito in it, I thought. I could have done with another 20% of Mosquito and just 20% less. It was almost like it was 75% Denmark and the resistance and only 25% Mosquito. It'd been 50-50, I'd have been quite happy. But it was very interesting, and you certainly learned a lot about how brave these guys were. And they bombed the shell house. It's really talks about all the operations of the Mosquito, including the Amiens raid, but only very briefly. It's really about the shell house raid. There's also the Aarhus raid, where they raided the college at Aarhus, the university, where the Gestapo had their records office, and they bombed the living daylights out of that, destroying all the records. And then they bombed the shell house, which is where they were torturing the members of the Danish resistance. It's very interesting. I don't want to put you off this book. I don't. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was glad I bought it. I learned a great deal, especially having someone who's been to Denmark quite a bit. If you're from that part of the world, you should definitely get the book. So that's Mosquito by Roland White. I give it a sort of an 8.5 out of 10, because I just wanted a bit more Mosquito and a bit more about maybe they didn't talk, for example, which I thought they would do. They didn't go into any detail really about the Banff Strike Wing, which was attacking the Norwegian fjords and the Norwegian based German shipping, and that was kind of not. That was where it let itself down. If it had been split more, we had a bit more of that as well. Not so Danish centric. And I say I'm not having to go to Denmark here. I've got lots of friends in Denmark, even today. It just got a bit carried away. It was like it was written by a Dane, really. You know, it was almost a Danish book. And I'd like to heard about the Banff Strike Wing, because I was always very interested with them as well. So I think if Roland White is listening, he probably isn't. But I'd say, Roland, maybe you could do another version of the book, or an adaptation of it or something, and maybe get the Banff Strike Wing in there and hear about the Norwegian targets being hit as well. I'd have found that, to make it a 10 out of 10 read, that would have been something I was looking for, and it wasn't really there. So a little bit disappointed in the content, or the scope rather, not the content. The scope of it was disappointing, but the content was brilliant. The content was fantastic. So there you go, Mosquito by Roland White. There you go. Anyway, thank you. Enough of me. So obviously listening to that was quite a good motivation for getting me going on the Mosquito, but it's always interesting to learn these stories about during that Operation Carthage. Of course, famously, accidentally one of the Mosquitoes crashed into the Catholic school, the Jeanne d'Arc school, which was mainly a girls' school, but there was also little boys taught there as well. And unfortunately, the other Mosquitoes in the second, third wave thought that was the target, because the main target was obscured, and they started bombing the school. And of course, there were terrible casualties. I think there was 86 children died, and about another 40 teachers and staff, and it was horrendous. So it was a very heartbreaking operation that went wrong. It was ultimately successful. It bombed the shell house and it achieved its objectives. But yeah, it was very moving, very moving. So it's a good read. Please say, perhaps sound like I'm on a bit of a downer, but it's a story worth hearing in detail. It's just, I wish there was more. Perhaps the book had been longer. We could have had a bit more about because that was in 1945. That's toward the end of the war. But a bit more of the Banff Strike Wing would have been what I was looking for. But there we go. Still very worthwhile. I commend it to you with an 8.5 out of 10. I've got my watch today, haven't I? Right, anyway, that's it from me. You can tell I wasn't prepared to be this long. Enough from me. Hope you enjoyed listening, and maybe you found it thought-provoking today with one or two ideas, and maybe some of the issues that I've been facing. Some of them completely created by myself. I'm sure you can identify one or two of those. We all go through these phases from time to time. Self-inflicted problems. Anyway, thank you for listening and for watching. Stay tuned, because there's lots more coming through soon. I'm going to do a something completely different video, probably at the end of June, talking about radio control aircraft, which will probably be quite an eye-opener for you, because I have these radio controlled jets. They're not actually gas turbines, but they are incredibly fast radio control aircraft, and I haven't really talked about them for a while. I'm going to present them here, show you one of these things and what it does, and talk about, because it's like a drone but faster. Yeah. I mean, these things can do 170 miles per hour. It's really quick. So I thought that'd be something interesting that one or two of you might find. Something completely different, as we say. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, stay well. Until next time, thanks a lot, and bye for now.